Mitchell Robinson, I want to thank you for all the service you gave the Knicks for damn near 10 years. Going through rebuilding phases, dealing with young cores, David Fizdale, and finally delivering New York an NBA championship. And I thought we'd be trying to restructure a new deal or compensate with a replacement center, knowing you'll possibly ask for more money. You got what you wished for. You got a new deal where you have a starting opportunity, knowing who a team lacking at the 5 position. I wish I never knew. Mitchell Robinson is playing for the Boston Celtics, guys. Mitchell Robinson. Now, people thought if Missy, God forbid DeAndre Ayton plays for the Knicks, I will throw something. And all this to probably, get a rim protecting 5. That we know Mitchell Robinson's weaknesses, and I'm not going to try to bash him, knowing he had a lack of free throw attack. He's not much of a long range shooter, but he's one of the best rim protecting forwards at the 5 off the pick and roll. So you at least get a pick and roll option that can facilitate, well, not really facilitate, but he's going to be there to space out and grab a lot of boards that I'm sure the Celtics really needed, because why they even got outplayed by the 76ers last series was the lack of front court depth, and they didn't have anybody to hustle on the rebounds. So Mitchell Robinson, hopefully he plays a good at least 60 plus games because of his injury history. He missed 2.5 seasons while we were still contending. So I want to thank Mitchell Robinson for everything. Fuck. Also, Los Angeles Lakers are already preparing for the departure of LeBron James, knowing he already reportedly will not be playing the next season. So guess who the Lakers signed? Colin Sexton, Quentin Grimes for $60 million for 4 years. Walker Kessler for a sign and trade for 4 years, $130 million. Getting rid of, I think, 3 first-round picks. 4 first-round picks. 2 pick swaps. In the exact same trade, only taking around $30 million worth of cap space. For a 24-year-old starting center. God forbid Lauri Markkanen will get the Jeremy Grant treatment when he gets a bit older. Because even Jeremy Grant even got traded for Ja Morant at this point in time. This has been possibly the most unpredictable offseason I've dealt with in years. You gotta go back to the 2018-19 season when I was a bit more active in the NBA offseason news that was going on for content, folks. And the upload schedule has been a bit little, because of my throat, been having some issues. But I think a big major loss for the Detroit Pistons is Tobias Harris. You thought I was going to say Jalen Duren after his poor exclusive performance in the postseason. Tobias Harris to get some wing depth for once, because other than Harrison Barnes, that's a aging power to wing, small forward. You actually get somebody that's versatile, that has the size, that's a lot more efficient than Keldon Johnson. That's kind of transitioned to more of a rotationary piece. I don't feel like Keldon Johnson will last. He'll be pushed over as a trade package. And San Antonio Spurs have shockingly not been in the news to even acquire LeBron James, because why would you get that? Kelly Oubre Jr. I thought he was going to go somewhere a bit more with a contending conversation, but the Indiana Pacers need a small forward, a perimeter defender that can also shoot from the corner. And Halliburton needs pieces that at least know what they're doing, especially after trading away Benedict Mathurin. Now you have him in Zubac. You still have Nembhard. I don't know who would push over for a major gamble this season. Jackson Hayes, after a decent enough season being a backup 5 on the Los Angeles Lakers, gets signed over for a 2-year deal to replace Walker Kessler for 2 years, $12 million. Oh, and in Miami, he finally got a key depth piece after letting the aging but all-star caliber leave their team. Oh my God, how do I forget his name? Norman Powell. Yeah, they let Norman Powell walk, and having Andrew Wiggins take a pay cut. So guess what's the next best choice? Nepotism. Tim Hardaway Jr. signs for a short but competent deal, knowing the cap hole they gotta be in to try to squeeze in as many players as they can. The Lakers are actually trying to construct a legitimate team over in LA. Los Angeles, while the Orlando Magic are trying to at least try to recoup whatever semblance of consistency they can, returning aging 35 years old Nikola Vucevic in the big 2026 after a poor season. Didn't work with the Boston Celtics, where he was like a second fiddle. But farewell to a former Knicks, rotation player. Ariel Hokoporty probably can get some minutes, knowing Embiid's gonna miss the whole season again. They let Marcus Smart and Bogdan Bogdanovic walk to go both to Houston to finally get some veteran pieces that could actually perimeter defend, and Bogdanovic could actually shoot, unlike Amen Thompson. Interesting. I would say that's better depth. I don't know how they're going to deal with Kevin Durant's contract, because I don't know how much of a win-now piece this could. Luke Kennard goes to Phoenix. Keon Ellis signs with the Brooklyn Nets with this woulda, shoulda, coulda team led by Julius Randle and Michael Porter Jr. for a 35-win season. I'm so proud of the Nets. They came from good to worse to But you're not touching Precious Achiuwa, folks. He signed for 2 years. But in the comment section down below, guys, you feel like also the next blockbuster trade, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard returns to the Six after a 7 to 8 year stint with the Los Angeles Clippers and only making one conference finals appearance. Not living up to the expectation to try to give some relevance over to the Clippers after fallouts in the front office. Forced upon super teams who washed up all-stars. And financial haggling, under the table scamming that went around with the front office of the Clippers to pay Kawhi Leonard out to compensate for Paul George. I would say the Toronto Raptors did do the smart decision. Brandon Ingram gets his own team where he could be a second or best scorer on the team next to Benedict Mathurin, that I feel like will have a breakout season with the Clippers. So you leave some of the pressure away as him being a dynamic piece. Because I feel like the Clippers need to go back all the way back to square one. The Toronto Raptors showed that they can have a competitive edge, but with their lack of postseason experience, inefficient players. Seriously, the best player out of that entire series against the Cavaliers, when the Raptors pushed it to 7, was Scotty Barnes. Brilliant player, somewhat on the spectrum, but that doesn't mean he still won't drop a triple-double. Still outstanding. You get a brilliant two-way defender that's still all-star caliber when healthy. Major sacrifices on the Raptors, feeling like this open space now where there's a lot more parity in the NBA. A possibility to now push over to the conversation. Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, Kawhi Leonard, Jakob Poeltl sounds a lot more effective in offense. to finally make this a competitive team over in Toronto with now legitimate star power and championship, claim to make this a very good conversation piece. Knowing the Miami Heat got Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Bucks are completely out of the conversation, knowing they have a bunch of B+ players. The Cavaliers are shown as frauds. The Charlotte Hornets literally sacrificed their All-NBA injury-prone guard to literally try to work on the future on what they got with Conca Nipple. That I feel like was the best option. I don't care if that's hating. The Knicks are coming with actual expectations, but it's legitimate optimism instead of choking. And the Sixers are probably going to get worse. Yes, Giannis to Boston was the better option. We still don't know what's going to happen with Jaylen Brown. We possibly think that it'll be pushed over to a sweepstakes involving the Portland Trail Blazers, the Brooklyn Nets, the Utah Jazz with draft capital and financial leverage to actually piece a lot of depth. Or hell, the Chicago Bulls. But that's besides the case. Tell me who you think would be the perfect fit for Jaylen Brown, depending on if he's going to be leaving the Boston Celtics. It seems like a shoo-in, knowing that they're trying to enforce. I feel like they've always been trying to enforce the media to feel like there has to be some type of conflict. There's no such thing as a positive togetherness when it comes to any adversity in the NBA. They already try to denounce a participation award for every different NBA champion. They don't like different teams to finally get something to show for their hard work. They don't like togetherness with two top scorers that need the ball in their hands to perform and they still get success. Literally, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown had the most highest rating offense over teams like the prime Golden State Warriors from like 2015 to 18. And yet that gets denounced around the media because Tatum only got one ring and he's a fanboy for a Hall of Famer like no other NBA champion. I don't get it. But, hopefully this comes to pass, because this is possibly the most anticipated trade rumors after Giannis Antetokounmpo and John Morant, even though I'm sure more fans would have anticipated him to go to Miami. Knowing Portland has like a buttload of guards, even though you can easily transition John Morant to the 2. He's obviously a 2 guard with like the bare minimum of playmaking skills. He's uber athletic. He can finish on the dime to try to kick out over to to Damian Lillard or stretch over to Drew Holiday. So the leverage on the Portland Trail Blazers to bag at least one star to compensate for Danny Advia's development to be an all-star caliber player for the future is still pretty good. And the Portland Trail Blazers, they've shown, even though they got shut out by the Thunder, it shows that there's some upside on this team. Tell me how y'all feel down below of some of the recent signings that happened this offseason so far. Because free agency right here has been an absolute derby, and I love it for that. That's it for me over in the DST Show. Like, comment, subscribe for more. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Congrats to anybody that graduated around this time period, and I hope you enjoyed your prom. Thanks for watching.